Hey everybody, it's Party Elite here with another episode of Total Breakdown. We've got yet another great tournament battle from the Warhammer Fantasy League with the Lizardmen from Pippington going up against the High Elves of Shetland Apache. To stay up to date with the tournament and live cast, make sure you check out the link in the description down below. We begin of course with talk of composition and deployment, and there's some pretty interesting things going on the field today, especially from the High Elves, but let's start with the Lizardmen. As you can see, we have a Saurus Oldblood in charge atop a Carnosaur, and he is assisted by a Skink Priest of Heavens on foot up front. The front line itself consists of these two units of Skink Cohort off to the side over here, tucked away in the trees, and then we have this checkerboard pattern of Temple Guards and Saurus Warriors, so there's some anti-large in there and armor piercing alongside some regular infantry. We also have these two Bastillodon with Solar Engine, and they're just up front to get that extra artillery range nice and early, get that damage happening as quickly as possible, while at the back, alongside that Saurus Oldblood, we have two units of Cold One Spear Riders. These guys will hope to charge in and shut down enemy cavalry and then go in after archers or come in for rear and side charges if the opportunity presents itself. On the other side of the field, you can see the High Elves are very widespread, and that's pretty common when facing up against the Lizardmen. As we've seen before, it helps against those dinosaur charges. Teclis is in charge atop a horse alongside two nobles, both on horses as well. That makes them anti-large and armor-piercing, so definitely a good pick there. And the front line here, you can see, consists of these spearmen over here, here, and two of them over here. We also have the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower up front, able to get that range nice and early, get some early artillery damage done as well. The Swordmasters of Hoth are off to the side, meanwhile, tucking in right now as the army is repositioning itself, and right behind that front line, we have these archers all spread very wide apart just in case a dinosaur comes charging through. They're able to assist each other and provide some support. They won't all get shut down at once, while the two Tyrannok chariots off to the side here are pushing off. I should say two units of Tyrannok chariots are pushing in, trying to get some damage done. Now, that's a very interesting pick. I don't think I've seen a battle with Tyrannok chariots just yet, so let's see how they play out, and let's see how it all breaks down. Right away, you can see the Lizardmen are playing relatively aggressively, as well as the High Elves. They are rotating. The High Elves have the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower that has superior range, so it will be able to get some damage done. The Lizardmen have to push forward very aggressively as a result. And we're going to actually kick it up a notch over here as these lines are going to close towards each other. This is pretty common deployment on this battlefield, as well as these guys sort of push off to the sides towards each other. And you can see the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower firing away already, trying to get some damage done to these Temple Guards, remove that anti-large and armor-piercing capability. They are fairly threatening, of course, so just try to shut it down nice and early. In comes another shot there, doing a touch of damage here and there, trying to kill a couple of these guys off and doing a decent job. Of course, a couple of shots being flubbed, but the Tyrannok chariots, as you can see off to the side over here, coming in for that rear flanking opportunity. They're able to fire into the backs of all of these shielded units, so those shields will be useless, of course, because they're not on their backs, and push comes to shove, they can charge in as well. And back here you can see as those Tyrannok chariots are coming in from the sides, we've got these Cold One Spear Riders, as well as these Cold One Spear Riders staying hidden in the trees, while the Saurus Oldblood is pushing off to the side here for some, charge activities whenever possible. But these Cold One Spear Riders very cleverly kept hidden in case those Tyrannok chariots push in too aggressively. And you can see, of course, they are chariots, so they're going to push in and try to get some work done, while all the way over here as well, the High Elves have managed to turn around, and they're now facing off against the Lizardmen as they push forward and turn around themselves. The Tyrannok chariots now able to open fire again into the backs of these Temple Guards. Again, they're a very threatening unit. Might as well take care of these guys nice and early, and that'll force the Lizardmen from two sides here to push forward. On the one side, we've got the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower firing away, and on the other side, these Tyrannok chariots as well, firing into their backs, forcing them to push forward, while the Bastillodon are pushing off to the side here, maybe trying to get on top of that mound, so they're able to fire in from the sides and get a lot of damage done. Very clever positioning there, very good idea, and now we've got the Cold One Spear Riders pushing in. Now that the Tyrannok chariots have pushed in and they've sort of committed themselves into the situation, we've got these Spear Riders pushing forward from both sides, hoping to shut these guys down nice and early. And the Temple Guard, meanwhile, pushing forward again. The Saurus Warriors as well. Everyone is pushing forward, trying to close the gaps as these archers now opening fire, punishing these Temple Guard off to the side over here. They're taking a fair bit of damage already at about a quarter health, while again these Bastillodon are hoping to get some shots in as the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower is able to fire away and cause a fair bit of damage as these two kind of, well, they tango with each other over here. Pushed in far too close. They're not able to get any shots off, and they're actually keeping each other slowed down. Meanwhile, over here, the Tyrannok chariots are pushing in for a charge, and the Temple Guards turn around to get some charges in of their own. Tyrannok chariots get some last couple shots in and get those rear charges in. Very nicely done here. The Temple Guards turn around to hopefully get a little bit of damage into those chariots before they're able to plow right through, and in comes a nice Flock of Doom as well, doing a fair bit of damage to this right flank as quickly as possible. And you'll see the Tyrannok chariot just trying to push through as those Spear Riders are giving chase. They're right behind, very close to closing that gap, so they push right through the Temple Guard again. Very badly hurt here at half health now as those Spearmen come charging through and engage the Saurus Warriors over here. We've got the Temple Guard pushing off to the side as well, trying to get engaged and take care of that right flank as it is severely damaged. And in the center here as well, you can see we've got these Spearmen closing the gap as the Bastillodon continue to take some shots from the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. Very nicely done there. And the Nobles here dive into the Skink Priest of Heavens, hoping to take care of that magic support as quickly as possible. At the same time, you can see this Flock of Doom has done a fair bit of damage, while over here we have the Cold One Spear Riders pushing off to the side, avoiding these spearmen that have come diving in to provide support to those Terranok chariots, who are able to just pull off to the side now and again get a nice charge into these Source Warriors. So very nicely done here. The enfeebling foe goes down on the Temple Guard over here, so they're not able to do as much damage as possible, and they're going to take more damage as well, as their melee stats, both defense and attack, have been dropped, and they're diving into these spearmen. At the same time, the Skink Priest of Heavens is able to pull away from these nobles as the Cold One Spear Riders and the Saurus Oldblood dive in on the Terranok chariots here, popping Foe Seeker as well, hoping to keep that gap closed, trying to take care of those chariots before they're able to do too much work. And these Skink cohorts here trying to close the gaps to these archers and prevent that fire, as the Bastillodon opens a shot into the Sword Masters of Hoeth over here, doing a fair bit of damage. Great target selection over there. You want to get rid of that very threatening anti-infantry capability as quickly as possible, especially when your army is largely infantry based. But all of that range fire from all of these archers just absolutely obliterating these Temple Guard over here. That right flank is going very much in favor of the High Elves, with all of that range support coming in, and another Bastillodon shot there comes through, trying to hit the Swordmasters here, just flubbing the shot a little bit, doing a touch of damage. But you can see back here we've got these Skink cohorts being hit by these chariots. Very nicely done. They're trying to slow these guys down, as these archers need to turn around and open fire on this Skink cohort, but again, they are shielded, so staying relatively safe, while another shot goes into these Swordmasters of Hoeth, doing a great deal of damage, dropping their health to about, or rather by about a quarter, before they're even able to close the gap to these Saurus Warriors. But all the way to the right over here, you can see these Sword Masters of Hoeth completely uncontested, able to close the gap, dive into these Temple Guards, dive into these Saurus Warriors, and they're going to do a lot of work there. Again, they are anti-infantry and they're armor piercing as well, so they're going to have a great time. Another shot from the Bastillodon comes in, this time sort of flubbing a little bit, again getting a touch of damage in there, hitting them with a blindness as well, reducing their melee capabilities as they dive into combat, while over here you can see those Skink cohorts are trying to do their best to shut down these archers, as the Saurus Oldblood pushes in as well to chase after these Terranok chariots. Meanwhile, off to the side over here, you can see we have the Skink Priest of Heavens popping the Wind Blast, doing a touch of damage to the Sword Masters of Hoeth. Not a bad call at all. Do whatever damage you can, and of course getting these Spearmen to give up on the fight, as well as these Spearmen dropping morale quite significantly. And in the center here, you can see these Saurus Warriors holding their ground right now against Teclis as well as these Sword Masters of Hoeth, but that's not going to last a very long time. While over here, we have these Cold One Spear Riders pitching in against these nobles, and that's not the best use of these Cold One Spear Riders. These nobles are anti-large, they are armor piercing, so these Cold One Spear Riders are not going to have a good time. They would be much better spent chasing after Teclis or pushing in against the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower or any of these archers back here. And you can see back here that this Terranok chariot is trying to stay alive as this Skink cohort pushes into another unit of archers. These archers now occupied by the Saurus Oldblood as well, so very well done overall by the Lizardmen trying to shut down the archers. But unfortunately, these Cold One Spear Riders, as you can see, sort of wasted over here, as this one gets hit by the enfeebling foe as well, further reducing its strength against these spearmen and the two nobles. Meanwhile, you can see we have a little bit of assistance coming in, Harmonic Convergence helping these Saurus Warriors out in their very tough situation here, as the Bastillodon again looking for opportunities to open shots off. And take a look at this wonderful angle here from this Bastillodon, gets a nice shot into the side of these Sword Masters of Hoeth, unfortunately falling just a little short, but great positioning there, great angle there, great thinking there. Always nice to see such positioning on the battlefield. While back here you can see these Skink cohort just falling apart as the Terranok chariot comes in with a nice charge, and the ranged fire as well, just getting those guys to drop, not willing to fight anymore. This Skink cohort here trying to close the gap as well, just trying to get rid of those archers, as the Saurus Oldblood over here is providing support against the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. And up front over here we have another Flock of Doom just trying to come out on top on this right flank. And you can see, in fact, with a couple of wind blasts and with some outnumbering, some simple outnumbering going on, these Sword Masters of Hoeth are in a very tough situation as well. So very nicely done there by the Lizardmen, coming out on top in this very dangerous right flank. In the center, though, it doesn't seem to be going in favor of the Lizardmen right now. They're coming out on top of the Sword Masters of Hoeth, but these nobles are right there as well. And in comes a Wind Blast, hoping to help out and doing just that. These Sword Masters of Hoeth are taking a tremendous amount of damage from that Wind Blast. It doesn't seem a lot, relatively speaking, but it will help, especially because it's dropping morale significantly, and it does take care of those Spearmen back there as well. So now the center is in favor of the Lizardmen as well. And back here you can see the Skink cohort continue to just give up, surrender, get away from all of that range fire. And some of that range fire is actually being wasted. It would have been much better used focusing in on the Saurus Oldblood or focusing in on the front line. As you can see, these Sword Masters of Hoeth as well giving up right now. These nobles as well in a bit of a tough spot. They've been taking a fair bit of damage. They are trying to take care of the Skink Priest of Heavens alongside Teclis as well. And you can see the Bastillodon as well getting a fair bit of damage done, turning around and opening some shots into these archers next, trying to reduce their accuracy, trying to reduce their will to fight. So again, very good thinking while this Bastillodon is pushing forward to try and get involved, as these Temple Guard now, having taken care of the Spearmen, are able to close the gap towards something more important. The Saurus Oldblood back here, meanwhile, chasing after the Terranok chariot, again, hoping to take care of that mobility, I think, hoping to get rid of that Terranok chariot. The Saurus is, of course, anti-large and armor-piercing, so very capable in that situation, but the Tyrnok Chariots just turning around and trying to get away as those archers are still free to fire away now at the Cold One Spear Riders, who finally made their way back there, but they're going to give up very quickly as this Bastiladon up front continues to provide support to the front lines, able to fire into the backs if possible, but not a bad idea at all. Again, getting rid of these Sword Masters of Hoeth, getting them to rout in that beautiful shot there, so these Temple Guards are now free to push forward. Over here, though, we've got these Cold One Spear Riders hit by the enfeebling foe as they chase after the Noble. They get rear charged by the Noble as well. Not a good position for them to be in at all, as the Nobles are, again, anti-large and armor-piercing, so they're going to fall apart, while over here we have the Skink Cohort pushing in against the Archers, trying to provide some support to the Cold One Spear Riders, but again, these Archers have been kept so far apart, so wisely kept far apart, that they're able to continue firing away as one gets occupied. But over here you can see the Source Old Blood diving into the Noble now, using its own anti-large capabilities to hope and come out on top and save these Cold One Spear Riders. Might be just a little too late, but in come the Temple Guard as well. They are anti-large and armor-piercing too. A nice rear charge into the Noble. One Noble gives up and falls. Another Noble very close to falling as well, as the Bastiladon in the background there continues to fire away at the Sword Masters of Oath, hoping to get these guys to fall apart as well. That Noble not having a good time at all, fully surrounded by anti-large units, going to fall apart, as you can see, terrified here by the Source Old Blood, starting to rout, and the Cold One Spear Riders are able to get away as that Flock of Doom goes down. Very nicely used, that Flock of Doom, hoping to eliminate some of these units, but the Noble itself is being taken care of, terrified off the field right now as these Archers fire away and get rid of this Skink Cohort that has already dropped its flag. So a couple of wasted shots there. Could turn around and focus on the Bastiladon or focus on maybe these Temple Guard over here, but unfortunately wasted shots there as that unit has already completely shattered. Over here, meanwhile, the Tyrnok Chariots pulling away into some safety as these Temple Guards are being shot at, but the Source Old Blood again taking matters into his own hand and then ultimately deciding to turn away, and that I think is a bad call. The Source Old Blood was so close, could have just dove in, caused some fear, caused some terror, got these guys to rout and just send them on their way. Instead, we have the Source Warriors about to eat a charge over here from both of these Tyrnok Chariots, and that's going to do a fair amount of damage to morale over there. So a bad call there by the Source Old Blood to turn around and chase after these Archers, but you can see back here, these Archers are still at full health. Their ammo is obviously dwindling, but they've been able to cause a lot of damage, so the Lizardmen have not done a good job of taking care of that range support. But in comes a glorious shot from that Bastiladon with Solar Engine, taking care of the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower, and now the Source Old Blood decides to turn around and chase after these Tyrnok Chariots after all. So again, a little bit of mismanagement over there, unfortunately, while over here the Skink Cohort is trying to close the gap into these Archers as the Bastiladon, again, closing the gap here, and another shot coming in from the Bastiladon, just barely missing these Archers, scuffing the terrain over there. So unfortunate, but this Bastiladon is trying to close the gap and get into melee, I think, while these Archers again just firing away at the Skink Cohort, getting these guys to rout. So nicely done over there, while again back here the Source Old Blood managing to get some terror activated, get some routing going on, some shatters in fact. So those guys are giving up, while over here again that Bastiladon is just pushing in for some melee action. Nice charge over here right into these Archers. They're low on ammunition now anyway, so they have done all they could have done, really. They could do a little bit of morale damage here and there with some rear charges, but at this point the High Elves are in a very dangerous situation. Their front line has basically disintegrated, metaphorically speaking, of course, and their Archers are more or less out of ammunition. A couple shots left here and there, but the Bastiladon is closing the gap. This Bastiladon pushing in as well. We've got these Temple Guard coming in alongside these other Temple Guard units. Both these Temple Guards just diving into these Archers. They do not stand a chance, while all the way over here you can see we have the Source Old Blood popping Foe Seeker, trying to give chase to this Tyrnok Chariot over here, while Teclis is, I think, looking for an opportunity to get involved, but there isn't much left for him to do. The balance of power is very much not in the favor of the High Elves, and as you can see over here, we've got the Temple Guard initially charging towards Teclis and then deciding to just push back here. There's not much left to do. The High Elves are in a very dangerous spot here, of course. They really don't have much going for them. These Sword Masters of Hoeth back here, if they were to recover, if they were to join in on the fighting once again, they could take care of these Temple Guards. But over here you can see the Source Old Blood charging into Teclis, and vice versa. Teclis being quite courageous, trying to get some work done over here, ultimately pushing in, using the Potion of Troy to try and stay alive, keep that damage resistance active, but unfortunately that Potion of Troy doesn't last for very long, and he's not going to have a good time here. Source Old Blood is going to come out on top, and the High Elves ultimately drop their flags and decide that they're going to try and live to die another day. A Pyrrhic victory for the Lizardmen. Now, the Tyrnok Chariots were an interesting choice in this matchup, and though they were very well managed, they didn't do nearly enough, in my humble opinion. The Archers got a fair number of kills for the High Elves, despite the Lizardmen pushing quite aggressively towards them, and at times it seemed as though the Lizardmen were unsure of what to prioritize and might falter as a result. Ultimately, it was the two Bastiladon with the solar engines that did most of the work when it mattered, I think, allowing the Lizardmen to come out on top, especially in those quintessential infantry engagements. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in those battle replays. I do think it's one of the best ways to learn, and I think it's really nice to highlight great battles from the community. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.